Hi, David Basnice here, Chief Economist at Beta Shares. This is a snapshot of my latest market trends report. And just reviewing the month of June, we've had another good month for global markets, and broadly, we're still enjoying this V shaped recovery in equity markets. Since the bottom in early April, after Donald Trump backtracked on his initial big tariff increases, we've seen the S&P 500 return 4.4%, or price gain of 4.4%. Globally, we had Japan market doing well, Europe not so well, emerging markets doing okay. And I think the main trend globally in recent months has been a resumption of the outperformance of the US growth, technology, large caps. In Australia, markets were up, but not as much. The ASX are up in price terms about 0.9%. I guess the big news in the month has been the rise and fall of Middle East tensions. We had Israel launching missile strikes into the nuclear facilities of Iran, and the US following that up with strikes of its own. Now, that for a short period there looked like it could be a potential all-out war between Iran and the United States and Israel, but Iran's counter-attack was seen as fairly limited, and markets quickly deduced that Iran doesn't really want to escalate this war. It doesn't really have the capability of prolonging a war, and I think the regime in Iran is keen to at least retain power rather than have a full-fledged war. So the other issue is the tariff issue with Donald Trump. That hasn't really gone away, but markets, I think, ultimately are guided by the view that he is probably not going to raise tariffs at the risk of causing a US recession. So we don't know where they're going to end up as yet in terms of China, Europe, many other countries, but we're still in wait and see mode in that regard. In Australia, the big news was that underlying inflation in the monthly CPI reports did drop down nicely in May. The annual trim mean measure dropped from 2.8% to 2.4%. Markets now have a very high chance of a July rate cut. I'm not as convinced that the RBA will go in July. I mean, I think there's good grounds to wait for the more reliable quarterly CPI report that we get in late July, and then they can move in August, though I do concede at the moment the markets have a high probability of that July rate cut, I should say. Look, I guess all up, the outlook remains fairly encouraging. Hopefully Middle East tensions do remain subdued and don't flare up again. And Donald Trump ultimately doesn't go crazy on the tariff front. If you'd like to see more details of my report, please visit the Insights section of our website. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next month.